So Battlefield, while I was gone away on my trip, Battlefield leaks happened in two ways. First of all, a new Telegram channel that had early concept images of the new Battlefield got leaked, as well as a bunch of the weapon attachment, things along those lines. It was like literally everywhere. And at this point, I don't know what I can include and what I can't include in videos. Slick has a huge set of you know what's and put it in the weekly reload. I don't know if that part will get removed. He did it in a way that won't trigger any sort of automatic triggering or anything like that. But I want to show you everything in this. So I kind of found a way around everything where I can show you things. Basically, there are four main concept images that got leaked. There are a couple other ones that I'll mention, but four main concepts that got leaked for Battlefield 1. I put them into ChatGPT and told them to spit me out a nearly identical image, and it pretty much did that. So I can show you those, but I can't show you the original images, but I'll explain what you're looking at in them and what it means for Battlefield 1. You'll see as we go through it. Let's start out with this image though, right here. So this is similar to the first image, and this is obviously LA, San Francisco, that kind of area of the world. As you can see, clearly AI generated with the tree on top of a tree. But basically what it was is a war going on in LA. Everything is on fire. In the actual image, you can actually see kind of up into the hills and everything is on fire. I think a lot of people think this is signifying potentially a battle royale map within the Hollywood Hills, that kind of area, with the whole firestorm idea being pushed forward. Another example that we can see of this is this image here. Again, this is the AI generated image, but in the actual concept image, it was a golf course. Various areas of the golf course were on fire. There was no clubhouse. I don't know why ChatGPT put it in. And the one other difference is the main city, which I'm assuming was LA in the image, was completely like destroyed, bombed, that kind of thing. Now, speaking of a city being destroyed, the next image that we had was something along this lines, which looked as almost though an earthquake had hit LA. There was a floating sign in the water. I specifically asked ChatGPT to put this in that said Sunset Boulevard on it. So clearly we knew where we were. We were in LA. It looked like an earthquake hit, and like bridges still stood, but there was giant craters around the actual land and these super nice houses. So kind of giving you an idea as to what happened. And then the final like LA image that we kind of got was something along these lines, where you had your military going down into what kind of looked like an oil field slash desert area, industrial style building. But the one difference in this image is all of these hills in the background were on fire. Again, looking like Firestorm. Now, there were some other images that got leaked of other areas around the world. I do have a kind of thing here. We had East Hollywood and then the outskirts of Hollywood. We had Dumbo, which kind of was New York City. We had what we already saw, which was the kind of Italian landside, the battery map that we talked about in a previous video. There's also some images of pyramids within Egypt, and then some things within Asia, which we will come back to in a minute. So New York and Hollywood. So for kind of your American campaign, you had the Italian campaign, and then you kind of had this Middle East Egyptian kind of area as well, which kind of didn't explain much. So those were the images that we were seeing. They hinted towards some sort of battle royale. That was the best way I could think of showing you to keep you guys informed on that one. But there's also some other leaks as well. Let me close all these images and then I can pull those up. So first thing, this is from someone's video. We've talked about him before on the channel, but Ghost Gaming's video, but this is the leak that we have here. It's from the Sluts of BF Labs, which is kind of a hilarious name. Very niche. That name will disappear very, very soon. But this was weapon attachments that got data mined from the files. So angled grips, bipods, flash hiders, grip pod, so I'm assuming some sort of bipod with a grip. Whoopsies. Then we have the holographic laser light, magazine, magnifier, mid zoom. So all of these seem to be some sort of reticles. Muzzle brake, reflex, stubby grip, sniper optic, suppressors, which there's oodles and oodles of suppressor, which I find interesting, and then thermal and vertical grip. And that kind of summarizes all of the attachments. But one other thing is this here. Now, this is kind of hard to understand at this point, but these are seemingly mastery badges. So kind of taking a page out of Call of Duty's book here, where as you use a weapon, you kind of get mastery. I'm assuming there's going to be either some sort of camos or something like that involved with the mastery of these weapons. Now, I don't know whether this is simply eliminations, kills, headshots, what this may be, but the one thing I will say, and the one thing that I know from development of Call of Duty, is that these sort of challenges and medals and cosmetics are some of the last things that are put into game. And just to put it in perspective, when I went in, I believe it was Battlefield 4, because Blackout was a part of that playtest. I went 2 weeks before the launch of the game to, I think it was LA, and we were in a hotel and we played the game for like 3 days straight. It was for like the review window of Battlefield 4, or not Battlefield 4, Black Ops 4. And at that time, 2 weeks before launch, before the day one patch, camos were in the game, but you couldn't see them. Like they weren't skinned on the weapons. They were barely there 2 weeks before the launch of the game. It was one of the last things they did. So the fact that they already have these in the game files, like the mastery tiers for weapons, is a good thing, but they probably haven't decided what the unlock criteria is for them, nor have they probably decided what will go into actually the look of them and things like that. But the fact that there's like clearly bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and some sort of red and black skin gives you a pretty good idea of what we're looking at here. The other thing, I can't show this image. Screw it, I'll show it. He has some of the images, but they're so small down there that, like the Dumbo New York one here and things like that. This is kind of where we know the battles are taking place, and we have the NATO Allegiance versus the PAC, or the Pan-Asian Coalition. And this seemingly is what the battle is gonna be, kind of Asia versus NATO is what it is looking like for story-wise, at least for the campaign, which I find interesting. We'll have to take time. And then cosmetic badges. This is seemingly what people are saying might be some of the first microtransactions that have been leaked, which I find a little bit far-fetched. So I want to keep in mind here that these were early images. Hopefully, I'm hoping that eventually these concept images eventually get put out there in the world, because they're pretty cool. And I actually think they give a pretty good idea of what this game is actually going to be, because some of the images that were the concept images have already been shown. Like Battery was one of the maps. Some of the Middle East concept images ended up becoming some of the maps that are in the playtest. Some of the things that we haven't seen yet are number one, New York, and San Francisco, LA, that kind of area, those ones, because potentially those are, in the eyes of America, a little bit more risque to put into their games, but I do think they draw more eyes. And in fact, one of the biggest things that came out before Black Ops 6 came out is when they announced that it was going to be Gulf War and that kind of thing. Some people were suspecting, oh, wait, are they going to do September 11th, that kind of thing? And it seemed as though there were two fronts to that. One side of people said, oh, we can never do something like that. On another side said, you know what, that would be pretty cool. Enough time has passed, people can shed lights on it, even if you do some sort of fundraiser for it. I don't know what the right model is for that, because it's an extremely dark time. And a mission in New York, for example, if there's a raid in New York, that could symbolize something like that. And then LA, you of course have that. But it lends to the question, right? Let me give you this, for example. When that came up and they said, okay, can we do 9/11 as a mission within a Call of Duty game? Well, how do we feel about them doing Pearl Harbor as a mission within a Call of Duty Battlefield Medal of Honor game? Is it okay to do a Pearl Harbor mission? Because Pearl Harbor was a massive thing back in the day, but video games have done it, movies have done it. Is it okay to cover those sort of things? And I know that's like a completely other topic. It's just seeing these images that we talked about, and maybe I'll show a couple more of them just to show you guys. But like, I think kind of like the most telling one was one like a little bit like this, where you can see LA or San Francisco or these major cities that are being under attack. It is something that Call of Duty hasn't done in a very long time. And I think with the direction that Battlefield is pushing, with this more realistic, down to earth kind of game, I think it's a perfect game to do something like this. But then again, there's going to be that other side. But controversy pushes sales. It's something Call of Duty used to do all the time. to my knowledge, just offhand, I can't think of a situation where Battlefield really did that, but Call of Duty was known for it. Look at No Russian, look at things like that. It pushes sales like crazy. So if they were to do something like this, it's probably the time to do something. But yeah, that's why I put these images in there. I don't know if the other ones get taken down. I've seen 2 Reddit posts where they said that there was illegal takedowns on those images. So that kind of scared me off of it a little bit. But yeah, let me know what you're thinking. And that's the most recent update on Battlefield. I'm trying to keep you guys up to date. And it seems like once a week, at least, something wild comes out. So when something else does, we will be right there.